What is up, fellow bench warmers? Welcome to your daily Fantasy Quickie. What's up, guys? It's what the
Third to the last day.
2 more days, third to the last day of fantasy basketball.
Third to the last quickie.
Yep. In the quickie, we've been talking about what to talk about because there isn't really much to talk about these days. Players have been out. There have been a lot today. We kind of anticipated them yesterday during the quickie. Teams that didn't really have much to play for rested some of their players. In fact, some of the rests were actually quite surprising. Like Facu rested today. I mean,
yeah, Facu, Millsap,
I would have expected Jokic to rest a game or two, but Jokic
and
still
Embiid played. Embiid played also.
Yeah,
Embiid, Simmons, Tobias, they all played.
And that could mean, some of these players, most likely wouldn't play the last day, right?
I think the Sixers already clinched number one.
Yeah.
So if Embiid and company still plays the last day, then we know that this season is just really illogical season. We don't know what to expect anymore. So I expect all the Sixers to rest.
I expect a lot of teams resting their star players on the last day.
Yeah. Jokic said that being a Serbian is not gonna rest as long as he's healthy. So let's see
said that?
He said that. He said that a week ago. He said he doesn't know the meaning of rest because he's Serbian. He doesn't rest. As long as he can play, he will play. That's what he said. And if he gives managers what he did today, 20 minutes, 25 minutes only, but a triple-double, you'll take that. I mean, I'm okay with that.
Well, with all the star players resting, if you have that lone star player playing and giving you a triple-double, I'm pretty sure you're going to be happy with that. And I think a lot of Jokic-owned teams are,
in the finals.
If not, they're right there. I mean, semis for sure, playoffs.
I had Jokic in two teams. One is in the finals right now. The other finished third.
Yep.
But to be, for context, that team was the one I said was totally ravaged with injuries. But Jokic was able to carry me all the way to third place. So he's the MVP. He's gonna end as number one this season in fantasy. I know we're gonna have an awards episode most likely with in our weekly or whatever episodes, but we don't have to debate about this. Anybody who says that it's not Jokic in fantasy hates Jokic because he probably beat their team. So yeah, he's the MVP. The question for you is, will you trust him as number one next year, or you will go for another player?
I will. I mean, the numbers he gave this year is probably close to the numbers Harden gave last year. Right? I mean, even the defensive stats are there. The efficiency is there. Maybe turnovers. No, turnovers. Okay. He doesn't turn the ball over as much, but yeah.
Will you? Do you think the difference between you? Well, we both agree that it's number one next year. Yahoo will start him as number one overall. You agree with that?
Yeah, I think
so. His ADP will be number one in drafts. Do you think the difference between Jokic and number two will be bigger than number two to number 3 and 4 and so on? Will it matter if you get a number one pick, or do you think that any pick 1, 2, 3, 4 will be the same more or less? Who's your number two?
Maybe a Harden.
Harden. So okay.
Depends on how Harden plays in the playoffs. And how healthy Harden is. I would go still with Harden. I think when he's healthy, he's playing, he's there. Probably him or maybe Steph. I don't know if I could trust Steph as the top 3. I don't feel comfortable taking Steph in the top 3 for the reason that I had Steph, and other than threes and points, he's elite there and maybe the free throws, but I don't think I like that compared to maybe a Harden who could still give me an assist, some rebounds, some steals, some blocks, good. Even though the turnovers are probably higher, but yeah, pretty much.
How much are you willing to pay for Jokic? If you'd say you're in an auction draft. In our auction draft, it's $1,000. How high are you willing to go?
Our first rounders have been going for around 300, right?
Yeah.
That's 1/3 your salary.
How much are you willing to go?
For a $200, the standard is
200. The standard is 200,
right? 1/3, 60, 65. That's how the first pick goes, right? I mean, it'll probably be there most likely.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, Jeremy's helping me because I have him in a dynasty league, so I'm thinking of keeping him even if the salary is very high. I'm gonna keep him.
Yeah. Well, depends as well. At one point, I don't know. I just feel like there's a threshold for auction drafts, meaning if he is currently valued at around, how much did you get him for? 350?
300.
300 plus 30, so that's 330.
330, yeah.
I think that's solid value already. I think if you throw him out and re-auction for him, he'll probably go around 350.
Yeah, I that's what I was thinking.
360 max, I think. 360 is the max for a Jokic. So yeah, I think that's 330 is a solid value already.
Well, I'll just hope that he stays healthy. That's what we really hope. He said as long as he stays healthy, he's going to play.
Well, everything now hinges on the playoffs, right? I mean, how teams or players play in the playoffs, and even players like Harden, who played well early on but didn't play as much after the All-Star break. They'll be judged on how they perform for fantasy managers.
Yeah, that's true.
They'll perform plus how they'll coexist. Like Brooklyn, we don't know how good would Harden be with KD and Kyrie. They only played 7 games this year. Imagine that, out of the 72.
Tomorrow will be the 8th. Tomorrow will be the 8th.
They won't even reach 1/3 of the games, right?
Yes.
Playing together. So that's crazy. I mean, I'm heading into the playoffs and it will be interesting to see how cohesive they would be. And from not just for the real basketball sense, but the fantasy basketball sense as well, because how they perform in the playoffs could translate to how they would perform next season.
But at least we're sure that it's really the era of Jokic already. It's his time, and you can see it when the draft comes. You will be shocked with a lot of this is the next Jokic. This is the next Jokic. There are actually 2 or 3 in the draft coming up who people have been comparing to Jokic.
Yeah.
But
it will really be interesting to see who would be number 2. I'm
I won't
pretty
go
sure.
Harden. You're Harden. I won't go Harden.
Who would you go for? Cat?
Cat is one. I'm still debating, but I'm not confident with Harden because, as you said, the Nets are just. I mean, unless you're gonna bet on the Nets becoming injury prone again, which is possible because it's KD and it's Kyrie, so that's possible. But Harden is in that mix, but I'm not yet sold on Harden. Maybe I'll go.
I think Harden would still go top 3 or 4.
Possibly, yes, possibly.
Because I don't see any other player who moved up to top 3 or 4. Maybe Embiid, but
no.
I don't think people would
so.
still take Embiid. Embiid would probably be like Kawhi, right? Kawhi would probably end up top 5, top 6 this year, value-wise. But going into next year's draft, people won't see him as top 5, top 6 because he missed a lot of games again.
You know who's gonna go second next year? Luka. Not deservingly, but I think.
He's been going first in some drafts. He's been going first, second, third.
And talking about Luka, I think he's gonna have a big leap next year. He could be actually a top 10 player next year. I feel that he would.
Yeah. Another player that I think could go top 5. He hasn't been consistent top 5 this year, but I think I've seen some nice improvements from Giannis this year, here and there. I mean, the
Yeah,
free
that's
throws
correct.
have been bad. The free throws have been
Yes.
bad, but you'll be surprised. There have been games that he's 9 out of 11, 9 out of 10. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he's bad overall, but if he can consistently hit at least 8 out of 10, maybe 80%, or a high 70%, I think that will be decent enough, right?
Yes.
That's probably the only flaw in Giannis's game, more than Luka. I guess Luka probably has more turnovers than Giannis.
I think they're near, but yeah, I agree. If we're gonna talk about Giannis compared to Luka, yeah,
And Giannis has been hitting threes as well. He's had multiple games wherein he's had 2, 3 pointers. So that's for me a big leap already that might not be seen as or noticed as much.
Giannis actually right now in fantasy is basically how Shaq was in fantasy before. I don't know if you guys still able to play during Shaq's time, but Shaq was too dominant when he was playing during his time that even if he was missing free throws, he was able to help you out. So it's basically the same. And as Jeremy said, he's improved already his free throw, but I don't think he's gonna improve further. I just don't think
you'll never
so.
know. I mean, the threes have improved.
But I think he has reached where he could go.
I think he can still improve a little bit on the threes. Be more consistent, hit more. At least the threes. But having said that, the field goal might go down. So that's gonna be the trade-off there. The field goal percentage could drop significantly because he's one of the better field goal percentage players, right? So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, it's still early to talk about next year's draft, but it's.
But another player who's also interesting to see where he will go is Russell Westbrook. Yep. He had a triple-double again today, segueing to Russell Westbrook. He will end in the top 70 this year. Nobody, even the biggest Russell Westbrook fans and whatever, would say that, hey, I think don't mind the rankings. That's what they always say. Don't mind the rankings. He's a great player. Well, now you can mind the rankings because he's now in the top 70. He's number 63. So, whoever saw that, right?
But Westbrook has a high ADP.
Yeah. Not that high. Not as high as before. I mean,
not as high as before, but definitely I think he's higher than 70.
He's higher than 70. Yes,
right?
I
mean, in the ADP, so being 70 might be a little below what his,
and
managers have picked him for.
And this is what I will say: be cautious with him next year because now I'm not a hater, but this is the best season ever, best case scenario for him. He played 64. He'll play 64 out of the 72 games, which is, I mean, who would have thought? Yeah. That's a lot. And he played back-to-backs and he was on fire. He was making 3-pointers, 1.3 a game and everything. But he still finished 63rd overall. Mm-hmm. And that's in totals. That's not even an average. Yeah. So, do you bet aging player to do this again next year? Well, I don't know. I don't want to bet.
To be honest, I never really liked drafting Russell Westbrook. So, he's part of the do not draft list. Do not draft players list.
Maybe not that extreme. Not that do not draft area, but maybe not too high. At the right moment, maybe.
At 70, maybe.
Well, at 70, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
it's a no-brainer.
But, he's 70 this year, you said. So, I would think, 50. Would you get 50?
50 would be okay for me. I mean, if I have the right build, I think I can win with him.
Yeah.
I think. Let's see.
Yeah, but lots of surprising players. Really interesting to see how the next year's draft or next year's rankings would play out, especially with the players resting. Steph, for example, we talked about Steph a bit. He was top 5. Do you think he goes top 5 again next year?
Yes, he goes top 5 next year.
Top
He will
three.
go top 5.
Top 3.
Possibly.
Who's your second?
Possibly.
Who's your second? You never answered that yet.
I'm thinking between Kat
Or
and
Steph?
actually Steph and Harden. Those 3. Those
So you
3
still
are.
have Harden there.
Yeah, I still have Harden. It's just that it's not 100% Harden.
Yeah.
Because when I was thinking about it, Kyrie, how do you trust Kyrie to play a lot of games? I don't think so. Even KD will always be now.
KD and Kyrie,
Right.
I think they'd still go late first to,
Good luck.
the worst case scenario would be late second round for Kyrie.
Yeah.
Kyrie went late second round this year.
Was he
for
worth
some.
it?
No.
Would you say you won if you got him late second round this year after everything's said and done?
for some teams, they got a good head start, right? He played well early, so they got a good head start. Having him at 28 pick, right?
I don't think he reached 28. Did he reach 28?
For some, in our league,
Okay.
for some, I think he had 28.
Okay,
He reached
okay.
28.
Okay.
Or mid second round. I think that's the fair, the average draft he got into. I think for some they got a good head start. What you should do if you get him at that level, you should trade him immediately.
Yeah. But for you, is it a win or a lose? If you got Kyrie, maybe we'll make this segment in the future. I mean, we get players who were drafted where they were drafted, and after the season's over, is it a win or a lose? So let's start with Kyrie, just for this episode. Win or lose?
Lose.
You said 28.
Lose.
25. Even if it's 25 or 28.
Lose.
Yeah, I agree. It's a lose.
Right. I think in one of the trades that happened, right? In our FBW leagues, it was Kyrie and Jeremy Grant that was, exchanged for each other, right? Right?
I think so.
So I think that that overall, I think would have been, just fair.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
With all the missed games that both players had. Right?
Again, the 10th category is availability.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And the biggest category in fantasy is availability. That's why, as I said, why was I not worried when I got 8th pick, 7th pick, 6th pick this year, sometimes 12th pick? Because I'm happy with Damian Lillard falling into my lap. I'm happy with Jokic falling into my lap because I think availability is very important. I would have been happy with Harden. I never expected Harden to miss this many games. But, well, of course, sometimes things happen. But more likely than not, the players who will play.
Well, Kat missed a lot of games as well this year. I mean,
yes.
He could have been top 3 easy if he played all those games. But he has been solid in the second half of the season. So, maybe only the availability would be questioned when it comes to Kat because over the past couple of years, he's been, injured here and there. So, but yeah, solid numbers as well. So, interesting again to see where that ends up. All right, so what else? Playoff picture. Talking about Westbrook, the Wizards clinched.
The Wizards clinched. Yeah,
but I think they're still playing for. I think they could still end up 8.
They could still end up 8. Yeah.
So they might still want to catch that. And
they will want to catch that.
Yeah. An 8 spot going into the play-in would give you an advantage as well because you'd have 2 chances of getting into the playoffs. The Bulls officially are out. Not sure what would happen in the last game of the Bulls, whether they'll play
last 2 games. They have
last
2 games left. Yeah.
Whether they'll play it out or wait until or just rest their players. We don't know.
The Wizards are just half game or 1 game behind the Pacers, who are playing the Lakers tomorrow. I assume the Lakers will win that, but of course, I mean, we don't know. Stranger things have happened, but I assume the Lakers will win. The Hornets are playing the Knicks, so that's a tough matchup as well. So everybody could be tied going to the last day, and then they probably have to win. Everybody has to win, right? Although I think it's Charlotte who was the tiebreaker among them. So let's see. But the good news is for these three teams, as long as they're healthy, players will play. But the newest update with the Pacers, Sabonis is questionable, Levert is questionable. So we're not sure if they're gonna play. It's a tough decision right now for these two players. Right now,
well, it's tough decision for pretty much everyone. I mean, having those top players with you, and most of them would be questionable. It's gonna be a tough decision whether to move on from them, considering that there's just 2 game days left. And then we have some, players that can help you tomorrow, maybe Justin Holiday, O'Shea Brissett, Alec Burks, and Goran Dragic. Yeah, Alec Burks.
And for the Bulls players, you can consider them, because I assume they might rest the starters, or they might give them lesser minutes.
Yeah.
So the Bulls, the Spurs, they already made DeRozan, Poeltl. Who else were out? I think DeJounte is questionable already. So a lot of people will be resting. Even Boston has said that Kemba and Marcus Smart are out. And then Jason Tatum and Evan Fournier, and Tristan Thompson is out also. And then Jason Tatum and Evan Fournier are both questionable. So, whose time is it? Taco Fall.
Maybe it's worth a shot, right?
Taco Fall, if he plays so well the next final 2 games, he's gonna be a difference maker also.
Yeah.
So you have to look at those players. Aaron Nesmith, Taco Fall for the Boston Celtics. For San Antonio, Drew Eubanks.
But again, it's really gonna be hard to, if you, let's say DeRozan sits, right? He will sit, right? But if you drop him, he plays the next game. Most likely he plays the next game. That's how Spurs does it. Sits 1, plays 1.
We never know. Maybe it's back-to-back no-bearing game. Why would they bring back? But yeah, that's something in my mind also. Can they sit both games? But why not? I was thinking, why not? Why not sit both games? I was thinking, if they're gonna play one game, why not play the first game and then rest the next game? Because the play-in tournament is just a day after that last game. So isn't it more logical for them to play the first game of the back-to-back and then rest the next game? The same opponent, I forgot who, but Phoenix, same opponent, same arena. Why would you not play the first game instead of the second game? So I'm thinking there's a big chance that they might rest them both games.
Well,
so that's speculation.
So you think those types of players should be a drop?
DeRozan, maybe. Right now
it's gonna be tough, right? If you are in the finals and you have DeRozan, you might be able to survive him not playing 1 game, but you'd probably lose with him playing 0 games out of the 2.
I don't think so. I disagree with that, because you know why? There's so many values opening up.
Yeah, but the problem
would you
drop him?
I would drop him if I have the moves. The problem is I don't have. I mean, I'm sure all of you only have 1 move left.
Yeah.
Or so if you will drop, probably will drop somebody else, because there's a chance that he will play the last game, right? So you will probably not drop him yet, because you have somebody else to drop. That's what I think. There will be somebody else to drop aside from DeRozan. But if I have unlimited moves, I'll drop him. I'll just pick up Najee Marshall, or Najee Marshall is available. Nickeil Alexander is available for the last day. So they'll probably give you the same stats as what DeRozan will give you, even if DeRozan plays, even if Tatum plays. I was actually debating on dropping Tatum a while ago in our league. And I'm actually thinking of dropping him still, because I'm waiting for tomorrow. If he doesn't play tomorrow, I'm thinking maybe I drop him. Actually, if he plays tomorrow, I'm thinking I'll drop him, because he's not gonna play back-to-back. Boston is already 7. So I can drop him. So
that's gonna be the tough decisions you have to make. Again, I think at this point, if your league has extended until the last week, lesson has been learned. It's fun.
But it's fun.
It's fun, but most likely you won't do it again.
But as I'm telling Jeremy, this is how Roto is. So
let's talk about that's a good segue. Let's talk about Roto for a bit. So I posted our league, our co-managed league.
Yeah.
And heading into the last 2 days, there's a triple tie for the top spot. Okay, everyone's got 85. For those who are not familiar with Roto, well, basically we are against everybody. So we can't think about just 5 categories like head to head. We have to think about all the categories and where we stand in all the categories, because even if we win, if we move up, let's say in rebounds or in points, there's a possibility we move down in turnovers, and that just cancels out our advantage in points, right? So that's how head to head goes.
How Roto goes.
I mean how Roto goes. And if you need points, you'll be wary about your field goal, because even if you get points, you
Or
might
3
fall,
points.
and you might fall. Let's say you get points and you add 1 point to your total, right? And then, but the field goals are so close that getting points dropped you 3 places down the field goal, right? So
I would think Jeremy would agree that it's more, it's harder, right?
it's
I mean,
harder.
It's really harder. It's
It's
really
harder. It's if it's this close, it's harder. Imagine you thinking about who to play, right? In head to head, this is doubly hard, because if you look at all the categories of that player, not just one, not just 5. Right? If you need assist, we need assist. We needed assist, right? We played Killian Hayes, and today, right? And we made a mistake because Killian Hayes shot 1 out of 8, and we could have had a good advantage in field goal if we played Matt Flynn, who we initially had.
And in Roto, the problem is you don't know where the threat will come from. Like in our field,
it's gonna go. If you don't look at the numbers, it will come from anywhere.
Yeah, like in our field goal, we were against the 4th place team. We're close. We're still number 1, but now we're almost tied.
We're tied.
The 13th. We're still number 1 in field goal, but by small percentage point over the number 13 team, who was very low, and not very low, just the third. He was third. He was not second.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked, how did he came out of nowhere? So I looked at who he played. He was not fixing his roster anymore. It so happened that Jalen Brunson was left in his roster for today, and Brunson shot 8 out of 10. So you would not have thought of, hey, this guy can come back. There he goes. He came back, and then I don't think he would have even played Jalen Brunson if he actually was fixing his roster. So that is a problem. And in Roto, that's how it is. Sometimes you have to live with that.
In Roto, if you can't just look at the top players that are playing, right? If let's say we are tied, right? 3 teams are tied right now at 85, and then there are a couple of teams tied at 4th. They are 80 points. They have 80 points. They're 5 points behind. We can't just look at those 5 players and say, well, what are these 5 players doing? No, we can't do that. We have to look at what the other players are doing, because
and what they are not doing.
Because the 13th place team, like Eric said, could just be a few percentage points behind one of us, right?
For that category.
Or like they could be, a few percentage points ahead of us that we need to catch them up. So even if they're not even playing anyone.
Yes.
Right?
And even in points, we're against someone who is 12 is number 12, but he already is not playing his players, but he has 2 players in the category, in the util spot. That will count because he's not fixing his roster anymore.
Yeah.
So by default, he's gonna get more stats, and he might overtake us in points, which will affect us in this kind of a close battle. So it's really tough. But it's exciting. We have a chance.
Well, it's really exciting if it's this close.
Actually, in another of my Roto league, I'm already out there, but I'm in the top 6 or something. There are managers who are calling other managers. They called me, asked me if I could do this, I could do that. I said, okay. So he wants me to.
Would that be collusion?
I don't think it would be collusion, but in my case, it won't be because I'm actually fixing my roster. He doesn't have to tell me. Actually, I told him, bro, I've been fixing my roster. You don't have to remind me. But he said, oh, I know. I just wanted to make sure you really fix your roster. And then he added that maybe if you fix your roster, maybe you try to improve this category. I told him, of course, I was being polite. I told him, yeah, I will. No problem. Good luck. I did say that. But of course, I won't do that. Why would I sabotage my own team, even though I'm not fighting for the top 2 or top 3? I'm still not gonna do that. I still want to go as high as I can.
Yeah, but okay, so let's put this another situation, because some of the managers in our leagues are not updating their rosters, right?
Yeah.
If you call them up to ask them to update their rosters, would that be collusion?
Technically, no, because it's their
they should
duty.
Be updating their
it's their duty
rosters,
to update
right?
their roster. It's different if you say,
play
okay,
this.
give me your password. I'm gonna fix your roster.
Or you tell them to play certain players.
Yes, that is collusion. Now tell them, okay, because I'm sure those managers don't know what's happening. They don't know, okay, how many points do you need, how many whatever, or what's happening. They don't know. If they tell you, okay, you play this player, that's collusion. So that if you just gently remind them, hey, can you fix your roster because it affects us, and that's not collusion.
Let's explain it a bit. So let's say you're in the 12th spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or 13th or at the bottom, and you're not fixing your roster. Why? Many might ask, why would you care if they're not fixing their roster, right? Because in head-to-head, if they're not fixing their roster, that's to your advantage, right? Because of the counting stats. The reason why we want, or managers in Roto, especially those on the top, would want them to fix their roster, because one of our opponents who's in the top could be just a few points behind the 13th spot guy, right? Or a few rebounds behind.
Yes.
If he's not updating the roster, that means he's not moving. The rebounds totals would not go up. And the player who is next to us, the second place team, could catch up, and that's another point for him. So it's really very crucial for other managers to update their rosters.
But in my experience, be careful in asking a manager to play their players, because
again, that could affect other stats.
It can hurt you, and that was because Jeremy and I were talking, like, should we tell this manager, maybe you could update your roster? I said, nah, never mind. And then if looking back right now, last 2 days, if we did that, if we told the manager and he did update his roster, the rebounds, that was what we're trying to catch up right now, that manager would have a higher rebounding total, and we will be farther away from him. And that is, it turns out at this point, it's down to rebounds. If we get that rebound, we're big chance of winning. So it could have bitten us in the end. But so be careful. This is not like head-to-head. This is different. Be careful. You have to make sure that this particular manager will not hurt me if he plays any of his players.
It's like if you're going into a battle and you're in the middle, if you have 14 opponents trying to fire at you and you don't know where the ammos or the bullets are coming from, if everyone updates the roster, right?
Yes.
Now that some are not updating the roster, at least it's more predictable, right?
True.
Some would move, some would not move, right? We know what will move, we know what will not move. I guess that's the advantage now of them not updating their roster at this point, at this late in this game, right? But early on, it will be bullets coming from anywhere where you won't see it. So you have to really be on top of your team, on top of your players, on top of the stats where you are. You can't fall behind too far, because you'd lose the chance of winning at the end of the game. So
actually, if you're really in a very competitive Roto league, you basically memorize each other's players. That's just how you play. You have to know this. I know this guy. This guy has this player. This guy has this. You have to memorize them, because you have to be fast in analyzing the data.
Yep.
So it's just like that.
So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we're talking about Roto now because we've talked about head-to-head pretty much for the whole season, and next year we plan to do some Roto leagues and maybe educate or share about how Roto goes. It's still fun. It's still fun. Just a way different ball game. Way more patience needed. Way more strategies needed. So for those hardcore managers out there who are really into fantasy basketball, I think most of these types of managers would enjoy Roto as well, because it's a whole season kind of thing. So yeah, that's how we'll end our quickie for today. Last 2 days coming up. So yeah, we'll see you again tomorrow for our daily fantasy quickie. Bye guys.